On the issues revolving around this Arizona's tough immigration law, Congressman Brian Bilbray is here joining us. First, your just initial reaction to this firestorm that this has created.
It's a tempest in the teapot. When I looked at the bill, read the bill, what they've done is taken the federal law, 287G, and applied it statewide. A program that is initiated in cities all over this country, city or county by county. So what they did is basically said, let's just do it statewide. And the same criteria, the same training, the same everything that the federal government applies to cities and counties around the country.
And part of the fuel for this firestorm is the fact that the path to citizenship for so many people who are here from Mexico is very difficult because of the situation we have with limited numbers of people being able to come in and do the low-skilled labor. How do we address the core issue of this problem?
I think you got to remember that the issues of the violence at the border, the fence, and all this other are symptoms of the real problem. The real problem are employers across the country who are hiring people illegally here to get the cheap labor. That's where we've got to go to. Now, 2 years ago, people raised Cain on Arizona because they went to the source. They required all employers in Arizona to use E-Verify. We've been trying to get that done in Washington, and the trouble is being held hostage for the politics of it. But there's one place that Democrats and Republicans have been able to agree on. But if you do that, once you've shut down the ability for somebody to get illegal jobs, you can then allow people to come here, work, and go home because you know they can come here to be able to work on a certain job, and they're not going to jump over and start working in construction and violating the law. But until we crack down on the illegal employers, and have a simple system to be able to know who's legal to work, we're always going to be addressing the symptoms of the deeper problem.
Right. Taking that a step further, is Washington to blame here? Is this the culprit? I mean, I know the people of Arizona that passed this said, we're doing this because Washington refuses to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what happened was, there was this school of thought that we, in the last couple of years, that even though you had members of the Hispanic caucus, the Black caucus, overwhelming Democrat and Republican support for Congressman Schuler, a Democrat from North Carolina, his bill that says, let's apply the system that Congress used to the entire country, E-Verify. Because it didn't include an amnesty program, a special program for those illegally here, they said, no, we won't allow anything to move. Now, you'll see those programs will be involved in other bills as long as it's tied to this amnesty issue. And that's where the real problem is. It's sort of like we either get everything or we're not going to move anything along. And that's really held us up. So they were very frustrated. They've got the violence, they got the problems, because even though they're going after their employers, you still got everybody coming through to go up to Las Vegas to be able to address that. And then you got San Francisco that advertises, you come to our city, we will not allow any law enforcement to do anything about your immigration policy.
All right, let's move to some of the criminal element. We saw the video from Arizona just moments ago, a sheriff's deputy shot by an AK-47, suspected illegal immigrants there. I talked to a Border Patrol Union agent who said that he calls Mexico a defunct narco state. So many drugs and so much of it spilling over to the U.S. How can we help control that, and what part do we have in it?
Well, I think we have to address the fact that we're not only by our lack of enforcement on the demand side, we're affecting Mexico too. Mexico is under siege. Now it's coming across. We in Chula Vista in the south part of our county, we've seen this battle. And I think that we got to recognize that this is not just a border problem. Again, the symptoms and the violence and everything else are concentrated along the border because we're not doing the national policy of addressing why there are so many people coming across illegal. And it's not just that you're so many, but that gives cover for the bad guys, for the narco. I mean, 50% of the top 10 criminals that are wanted in this county are illegals. That 50% is able to hide among all those who are just coming here for a job, and that's the problem that really got to address.
It's going to be a huge protest at Chicano Park today, May Day. It just coincides that it happens today is May Day as well. We have thousands of Hispanic viewers. What do you say to them to calm them at all in this very emotional argument, emotional battle?
I have to say that they should take on the elected officials and the Chamber of Commerce that's been defending the people who've created this whole environment. And the people who have done that are the employers who are hiring those who are illegally here instead of paying a fair market value to legal immigrants and U.S. citizens who want to work by the sweat of their brow and earn by the sweat of their brow, rather than compete against somebody who's come here illegally. Also the fact that once we're able to do that, we can allow those who want to come up, work, and go home, maintain their family and their community connections overseas, but be able to take advantage of the opportunity that we would like them to have on certain jobs that we can declare that are appropriate, but make sure that we can guarantee the American worker and the legal immigrant that they will not jump in and take jobs from those who want to work legally here in this country.
I want to clarify a couple of things. Do you agree with what they're doing in Arizona as a state?
I think that this bill is much more moderate than what's being proposed. I'm going to say again, the Obama administration is administering exactly the same program that Arizona has adopted. In fact, what they did, they adopted the federal 287G program. The difference is everybody is very upset because it's a statewide rather than city or county. And I think that when everything gets shaken out, you're going to recognize no one is allowed to be stopped unless it's a legal stop based on the fact of other issues, just like you and I get pulled over. And if we get pulled over, they have a right to ask for our ID, our driver's license. I think history is going to show that this is really about people scared of the unknown rather than taking the time to read the law first.
All right.
Brian
Congressman
Bilbray.
Brian Bilbray.
We could talk all morning about this. But
Absolutely. You know, we know the best in San Diego. We've seen this, and we saw that we did things here, and it pushed the problem over in Arizona. Arizona was basically ignoring our problems for so long. But again, I think that we need to talk about this is not a problem in Arizona or San Diego. This is a problem in Cincinnati and throughout every community in this country that looks the other way when an employer hires an illegal. They're at fault for what's going on in Arizona. The death, the attacks, and the fear that immigrants have down there. That is all being created by those employers who are still lobbying to make sure they don't have to check, and they don't have to make sure they're only hiring legally people in the United States.
We need solutions that make sense.